day 4 of Australian Open 2025 brought the biggest upset of the tournament thus far. The women's finalist from last year, Zheng Qinwen, has been eliminated from the competition at the hands of Laura Siegemund. Bree Stewart is back with me on the Tennis Spotlight. Welcome, Bree.
Thank you.
Simon Ray from Gig. Hello, Simon.
Hey, guys.
And commentator Candy Reid. Hello, Candy, for the first time in 2025.
Hello, John. It's a pleasure to be back.
Well, Laura Siegemund had a big match on her hands today and she rose to the occasion 7-6, 6-3 to eliminate the women's finalist in the second round.
I don't think anyone would have called that. Zheng Qinwen, as we know, had such a brilliant 2024. She's one of the best on the WTA Tour. Got the gold medal in Paris last year, went back to celebrate with her fans in China, of which there are many, as you can possibly imagine. A finalist here to Aryna Sabalenka at the Australian Open. Unbelievable server, hugely aggressive off the baseline. The odds would have been 90-10 in her favour, I suspect, against Laura Siegemund, who's a veteran German player, somebody who readily admits that her game is based on tenacity, hard work. She's not the most talented player out there. She's been playing for an awful long time, though. And I just thought that her coach and longtime boyfriend got the strategy and the tactics absolutely spot on against Zheng today, who was befuddled by Laura Siegemund's play. She never got really a ball in the strike zone. She was made to play difficult slices and chips and drop shots and forced up to the net and then pushed back with high lobby balls. Laura Siegemund was terrific, and there was a reason, and absolutely she got it all right that she went on her back in celebration. She had a smile like a Cheshire cat today. She earned that victory, and well done to Laura Siegemund is all you can say.
An absolute masterstroke from the German. Okay, Razor, take us inside the data. How was she able to capitalise?
Well, it's been a little bit of a recurring theme for Zheng, and she's been able to get away with it in terms of, we've seen her win a lot of matches down under over the last 12 months. But today it did bite her, and what I mean by that is her first serve percentage today, 55%, in terms of how many of those first serves she lands in the court. If we hark back 12 months to the final against Aryna Sabalenka, she serves at 53%, and she got well beaten that night. Now, don't get me wrong, there's been a number of wins along the way where she's been able to operate and get through, operating in the mid-50s as a first serve percentage. But it's not a great number, and I think it's amplified when you look at the fact that Laura Siegemund today served at 80% first serves in play. So what that enabled her to do, it's not an overpowering serve, as Candy touches on. Siegemund's not someone that's going to hit you off the court with her weapons, but it allows her to control proceedings. It takes the pressure off her second serve, and she's able to use some of her court craft and her variety to get the match more on her terms than she might have been anticipating, and it was a recipe that worked beautifully for her.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We know from the stats from last year and even the year before that Zheng has one of the best first serve percentage 1 points in the game. But she does historically have quite a low first serve percentage. Yes. Having said that, if she can get that number up to 50, 60%, then she's winning 80 to 85% of first serve points. And she's in business, which is what has got her to the level. She's been working with Pere Riba, the ex-coach, of course, of Coco Gauff, for some time. He, I believe, is having back surgery, so it's a little bit of destabilisation there with Zheng. But she looks shell-shocked to me. She's beaten in the second round of the Australian Open, so she's lost a lot of points, a lot of ground. She'll be back for more. She's very, very young indeed. Laura Siegemund is moving on, and she's one of those players that no one, absolutely no one, wants to face.
In press, she spoke about how she's always believed in her game and her ability to mix it with the top players. She's always just felt that her body wasn't right. There might have been a niggle holding her back. But today we saw really what she's capable of on one of the biggest stages in tennis.
Well, you speak about mixing it with the best players, and mix it up is exactly what she did today, even from the perspective of where she returned the second serve from, sometimes inside the baseline, sometimes on the baseline, and on other occasions 2 and 3 and 4 metres behind the baseline. So constantly keeping Zheng off balance in terms of the look that she gave her. It really was a masterclass in variety, not allowing Zheng to see the same ball on consecutive balls, keeping her off balance. First serve execution we've mentioned, 80%. That's elite execution. And the short rallies, so when the point was 4 shots or less, they're split perfectly, 50-50. Medium and long rallies, so as the points got extended and that variety starts to take effect, really one-way traffic. It's 30 points to 19 in terms of balls 5 and beyond in the favour of Siegemund. So that's where the match was won and lost.
The final game was so interesting to me because Laura Siegemund, she didn't show any sign of nerves. And the first point of the final game included a serve drop shot. And the drop shot was unbelievable. It just landed beyond the line, beyond the net. And Zheng couldn't do anything about it. And I think talking about Siegemund's health, she relies on the fitness. She is so strong. The work she does in the off-season, and she talked about this, and she's 36. She's got enough money in the bank to say goodbye and be comfortable for the rest of her life. But she put the work in once again in the off-season, which isn't easy to motivate yourself. She obviously loves it enough. She believes that she can challenge the best. You might remember at the US Open that Coco Gauff won in 2023, there was that very feisty match between Coco Gauff and Laura Siegemund. Siegemund takes time between points. She tries to rattle the opponent. She tries to get into their head. She will do whatever it takes to get across the line. She relies on her physicality. She's absolutely ripped. We're talking Maria Sakkari ripped. That's how hard she is working at 36. She could just be lying down or in the Maldives, couldn't she, on a nice lilo, having a drink at this point.
Not Lara.
But that's how much she loves this tennis and how much she wants to carry on winning.
With Qinwen, right, just going back to her, we saw her pull out of the United Cup in the lead-up. Do we think there's something else going on there? Like, was there... She had less lead-up kind of play? Was she probably less in form than some of the others who were playing other lead-in events?
It was an interesting decision to see that. Some were critical of that. Obviously, China had a great campaign. But Simon, how important is it for players to have match practice before they come into the first major of the season?
Well, no doubt it's a critical factor. But that being said, every player and every individual has a slightly different recipe. We are seeing, I think, a trend more and more over time that some of these players are coming into the first Grand Slam of the year without any matches under their belt. But it's up to the individual athlete and the coach and the team around them to establish whether that's a recipe that works for them. So who knows what's going on behind the scenes, whether there was an injury-interrupted pre-season and some question marks from a physical perspective there. But that'll be something that the camp will be looking at and assessing and trying to get right now with 2026 in mind. I
think the biggest thing for Zheng and why she hasn't played much and not doing particularly well is the fact that Berrettini's not here. He had hip surgery in November. He's not returning till Indian Wells in March. And Dante Berrettini's here with Zheng. And Dante is a great coach, formerly worked with many of the best, including Grigor Dimitrov. But I think she has a real chemistry with Berrettini. And once you have sometimes that dynamic of coach-player relationship and everything is slightly different, the advice is different, the chemistry off-court and on-court is different, the drills may be a little bit different, and Berrettini will be on the phone back home. But maybe that's just thrown off Zheng just a little bit. So maybe she actually won't find her best form until he returns in March.
It's a lot further than the coaches' pods on court to direct a player from. Our other match for Spotlight on day 4, Simon, was the big serving Reilly Opelka, who fell in 5 sets to the men's 26th seed Tomas Machac, who caused all sorts of headlines in the lead up to this event. But Machac going through 3-6, 7-6, 6-7, 7-6, 6-4 in a fascinating contest on 1573 Arena.
Wow, what a contrast in styles. And this just shows that power and the ability to produce raw power and pace and speed on the serve is still not everything in the male game. So Reilly Opelka, if you don't mind, averages 210 kilometres an hour today on first serve and 183 kilometres on second serve. So that's elite.
Wowzers.
I mean, in the men's game, you don't see higher numbers than that. Maybe with the exception of Mpechi Perricard, who started to serve at 200 on second serve. So those are just elite numbers. But Machac does a great job of blunting the second serve. Opelka today only wins 41% of points on his second serve.
Yeah.
So it's elite returning from Machac. It's the ability to ask him the question over 5 sets. It's accepting and actually maintaining your composure that I think Opelka blasted 40 aces for the match.
To 16.
So it's accepting that for big chunks of that match, you're going to be walking side to side and feeling somewhat helpless in the proceedings. But then when the moment arrives and you do get a second serve and you do have the opportunity at 30 all, there's a pressure point stat, which I want to get to in a second. That was his elite performance under pressure to seize that moment that saw him get the job done.
He'll have Djokovic to face in the next round too. He's no stranger to beating top 10 players. I believe Djokovic was one of the scalps he claimed in 2024. He's got a big game, this Czech.
Tomas Machac has a big game, and he's a believer. He's probably a little bit in the Laura Siegemund element, that he's a bit more of a grinder. He's a smarter player. He's not the biggest guy out there. He doesn't have a huge weapon, but he's very clever. He's got the Olympic gold medal in mixed doubles with ex or current girlfriend, which is it? Katerina Siniakova. We shall not know, and we shall not reveal if we do know. He's known for wearing the short shorts. I think he's a brilliant player. He's so clever about the way he goes. Czech tennis is doing really well now on the men's side because we've got Jiří Lehečka and Tomas Machac who've both made it through. And you've got to put Tomas Machac not in the top element, but maybe in the next rung. So I think he's going to cause Novak a few problems if he doesn't beat him.
Where are his other weapons then?
Well, he's an elite athlete. So from a physical perspective, he profiles off the charts, and he needed every inch of that today to blunt some of those weapons and the heat and the ball speed that's coming at him off the racket of Opelka. It'll come at him, but in a different way off the racket of Novak Djokovic in terms of quality, ground strokes, ball striking from the back of the court. He's a combative competitor. We saw that perhaps bubble over and boil over at the United Cup on occasion. But one thing's for sure, he'll be up for the fight, and he'll be backing himself as a legitimate chance to knock off Novak. So, that's a really enticing prospect, that matchup.
You just want to mention the short shorts, don't
Well,
you?
yeah, and you already mentioned the short shorts.
Oh, I'm
I've
so
got
Stole her
no, it's
thunder.
fine.
So sad.
No.
We could discuss that.
Yeah, he
He's
could get
just
a gig in the quad
got
doubles.
great legs. It's so
Premier
impressive.
John.
Thank you very much. Turning our attention now, turning the tennis spotlight to day 5. Iga Swiatek in action. Candy up against Rebecca Sramkova. I must admit, I haven't seen a great deal of her play, but you have.
I have, because she did so well in 2024. She's from Slovakia, turned pro back in 2013, so it's been a while. But of course, not everybody makes it the rare air straight to the top. Rebecca Sramkova's taken her time. She's got 13 ITF singles titles, quite a few in doubles as well. And now she has one WTA Tour title as well. So she's doing really well. One in Hua Hin last year. She's got an excellent game. A big, hard, flat hitter. Moves really well. Is intimidated by no one. I'm a little interested to know what Iga's level is actually like. Because, of course, she's dropped down to the world number 2 behind Aryna Sabalenka, who is easily, for my mind anyway, the best player in the world right now. Sabalenka, the red-hot favourite here. I think Madison Keys is a favourite as well. She goes up there. Coco Gauff, who's doing brilliantly, won the season ender last year and, of course, won the United Cup alongside Taylor Fritz for the United States. So, in my mind, actually, Iga's maybe 3, 4, 5 favourite. But I think Sramkova's got one of those games that could trouble Iga. Iga lost to Linda Noskova, to my mind, last year. So she's fallible here at the Australian Open, a tournament that she's never won. And Rebecca Sramkova, just watch her play. I think you'd be mightily impressed. She's not afraid to come forward. She doesn't mind slicing. When she's on a game, she's a clean ball striker. As I said, a really good athlete. So that could be a 3-setter, absolutely.
Sramkova certainly possesses the capability to make this interesting. She went on a great run post-US Open at the back end of 2024. I think she might have gone 13-3 through the Asian swing there for a period of time, including a couple of tournament victories. She showed that she can play under fatigue because there were some tight turnarounds in that swing. And she's got some impressive elements to her game that Candy's touched on. So I think the watch is on Iga, and Iga wouldn't want to be too far. She doesn't necessarily need to produce her best tennis tomorrow, but she wouldn't want to be too far off her good solid, I won't say elite level, but good solid level to be on upset alert tomorrow.
How far do you think, and this is a big lofty question, Iga can make it?
I think if Iga finds her best tennis, she can be a champion here at the Australian Open.
It would be good. I'd love Australia to fall in love with her.
Yeah, she's got those qualities. And I think it's something about her personality or what we perceive her personality to be that we don't feel like we know as much about her. She's
quite
seem
reserved.
Yeah, that more sheltered, more reserved, more a private type personality. That's the external view looking in anyway. But I think in terms of what she brings to the table, if she can find her best tennis and build towards finding her best tennis in week 2 of the Australian Open, she can go all the way. There's no denying that.
I think some of it is the conditions. I think if it's slow, if it gets heavy and humid, then Iga's in with more of a chance. But if it's dry and it's fast, like it was at the end of last year, if my memory serves me right, to play a player like a Sabalenka, a Rybakina, who was very impressive, I thought, against Emerson Jones. I think probably not talking about Elena Rybakina enough right now, because she is going to be hot in 2025 under Goran. If that works out, I think she's going to win majors, more majors to add to her titles. But that is very dependent with Iga. And I just worry about the coaching relationship. She's obviously joined up with Wim Fissette, having split up with Thomas Witorowski, who to my mind is one of the best coaches out there. Wim Fissette is a great coach. He's worked with Osaka and Kim Clijsters and many others. I'm just not sure if that's a match made in heaven. Check this space.
Well, one to keep our eyes on. The other match we wanted to focus on for day 5 is a great second round contest. Matteo Berrettini, who took care of Cameron Norrie in the first round, is up against Holger Rune, who played a magnificent 5-setter against Zheng Qinwen in the first round. They play each other in a very interesting and high-octane second-round battle, Candy.
Yeah, I just looked at the head-to-head. I was interested to see that. They've played 4 times before. Berrettini won the first and Holger Rune's won the last 3. Holger Rune is another one who's had lots of different coaches. He's back with his childhood coach, Lars Christensen, who's a friend of mine. Lars, up to about the age of 40, used to be a circus performer.
Oh my
Isn't
God,
that
I
a
love
brilliant,
that. I love
brilliant
that.
piece of information.
Now he juggles other problems.
And now he juggles other problems.
Oh,
And
you've
it was
always got the
Holger.
pun.
Then it was Clara Towson. And now he's back to Holger. I think it was the right decision for Holger, who's had coaches like, well, he's been with Kenneth Carlson and he's been with Patrick Mouratoglou. I think this is the right choice for him. Lars is very, very calm, in that he's horizontal to Holger's vertical.
Right.
Yep. So there's a lot of drama and a lot of calmness, and I think that's a good matchup. We want to see Holger back in the top 10 because to me he's such a fun, dynamic player. I really like him a lot. Berrettini, though, it's lovely to see him. He's a man that's now won more titles after coming back from injury. He's got a massive serve, a huge forehand. The slice is obviously pretty good. It's great to see him. He's just such an interesting guy, isn't he, overall? I'm not sure which way that one's going to go. It'd be interesting to see the numbers. I would say it's a bit 50-50, but how hard is Berrettini's draw? Cam Norrie in the first round, Holger Rune in the second.
Yep, and he might have Hurkacz to come if he gets through here. Simon, what does he have to do to get past?
Well, Candy mentioned the head-to-head being 3-1 in the favour of Rune, but their last two battles, both on hard courts over the second half of 2024, were marathon battles, and there wasn't much in either one of those two battles. So I think this one does really appeal as a must-watch on day 5 at the Australian Open. I'm calling it a 50-50. I think Berrettini can get over the top of Rune, and I think there's a couple of key factors. In their Cincinnati matchup back in August of 2024, on second serve, Berrettini found the middle of the box a lot and paid a price. Only won 43% of his second serve return points, and Holger Rune really got after that second serve return. In Shanghai, it was a bit different. All of a sudden, he couldn't impact on the Rune service game, and Rune's winning 60 and 70% of his own second serve points. So there's a couple of things that I'm looking for to see how they pan out early in set 1. But I do think Berrettini perhaps comes in with a slightly better preparation into this matchup than what we've seen from Rune. I think Berrettini gets it done tomorrow.
It's fascinating to be talking about Berrettini in these. Like, a lot of people were quick to write him off when he suffered those injury concerns. A couple of years ago now. But he seems to be back close to his best.
Yeah, I watched him in Davis Cup. I was fortunate enough to go to Bologna, and he is the first one to answer the call when it comes to Italy, which I absolutely love. Alex de Minaur does the same for Australia, doesn't he? And Berrettini was right in there for Italy with Jannik Sinner on the sidelines, and he came up with some great form. He was actually the last one to beat João Fonseca. That's a little note, absolutely, in straight sets. That was on an indoor faster court, which he likes. But yeah, I just love watching him play. He's such a fan favourite. Of course, there's more to life than just tennis for Berrettini, but he puts so much effort in. And I think if I had to guess a winner, I'd probably go with Simon as well. 51% to Berrettini, 49% to Rune.
Do you know what I also think it'll be a nice match to watch? Is it's kind of like the changing of the tides match as well. Like, Berrettini is by no way his career is over, but he's a little bit older, and then Rune's kind of been making his way into the limelight a bit more. I remember my first AO, he was still really young and just playing here.
He was a teen, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to see this matchup with two really strong, powerful guys. It's kind of like watching history be made as they move forward.
Rune's a funny one because he kind of came up a little bit like Carlos Alcaraz into the top 10 really fast. And then he's since lost his way a little bit. But I think because of all the coaching changes, there's so much drama around him that he's kind of slid back. And we've known he's beaten Djokovic a couple of times. He's got 1,000-level titles to his name, including in Paris. And now he's kind of starting to go up. He's got Lapo Beccarini as a strength and conditioning guy who's amazing. He was working with Artifice for a bit as well. This guy is really on the money. And then, as I said, back with Lars Christensen. So I think there's a bit more stability in the Rune life, whereas Berrettini, for me, was kind of not that great. And then he became really good, and then he slipped back a bit because of the injuries. And now he's also making his way back up. So it's two players with contrasting styles. There's a few years in age between them. Berrettini obviously has the maturity. Perhaps Rune has more explosiveness. But they both have weaknesses to their game. And I think it will be whoever can exploit those tomorrow.
The ebbs and flows of men's tennis. The Italian Stallion and the Danish Viking on day 5. Stay tuned. It's going to be a rip snorter, as we say here in Australia.
Do we say
do.
that?
I've never heard that.
Absolutely
I've never said that in my
like it.
life. Yeah, good.
Can I use that tomorrow?
Absolutely. If you like to hear more of those sorts of terms, please listen to this episode in full. That's called The Tennis. You can get it wherever you get your podcast apps. And don't forget to hit the bell below to subscribe to the Tennis Spotlight and watch episodes all throughout the Australian Open and throughout the year. It's It's been great having you on the show, Candy.
Thank you. I'm going to bring my handkerchief for a rip snorter next time.
Yes, if you must. Raise it. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys, for having us back.
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks.
See you tomorrow.